All right, folks. Welcome back. This is Darth checking in with you again. Glad that you got to see a little bit of why I do these on the road yesterday. So there's always that. He's a fun little guy. He was fine right afterwards. He just, I don't know what he wanted actually. Maybe mom, maybe a little bit of freedom to go roam around. We got it figured out in a few minutes. So today we're back. Today we're talking about Crown of Swords. But at some point I'm going to do a full proper review of these. I'm going to read them and go through them. So I feel like I just want to chat a little on this one. First off, oh man, yesterday was the world premiere. I'm a big fan of Daniel Green, and of course I've been on Dragon Mount, 25,000 posts on Dragon Mount, been there for a decade plus. So I know Jason, we've interacted a few times on that forum, and he was there, Nablus was there, the Innkeeper was there, Daniel was there, so we got Goblin Boy. Zoe Robbins came up to him and she went, "Hi, Goblin." And everybody knew who Daniel was. I was blown away by that. He's my favorite of the Wheel of Time YouTubers. And I just loved that. It was, man, I would like to say that I was jealous and envious of them for being there, but I can't even find it in my heart to be. I just love that they got that experience that he got after all that he's done in this community, that each of them has, that those guys all got to be there. And I saw some new people that I hadn't seen before. Daniel was split streaming with the lady whose Twitter tag is Egwene Alvear, and that's amazing, so I'm just so happy for those people. And hey, maybe if what I'm saying is cool enough, you guys will someday get me there too, and that would be so awesome, wouldn't it? Until then, I'm just going to keep bugging Rafe Judkins on Instagram every week or so to let me play Vannon, or maybe Vannon's too important a character. I don't know. I'm not an actor. But, I can do an accent and I can ride a horse, is what I said in that little thing. That's true. That's too bright. So, maybe I get to be an extra someday. Or, if not that, I will get to enjoy the show from the comforts of my own home, like so many of us. And that's cool too, but oh god, I'm so excited about this. I just want to be a part of it, 'cause this show is going to make magic happen. This is going to change TV, I think. So, okay, on to Crown of Swords. Yesterday, Lord of Chaos got cut really short, so I don't think that it would be wrong of me to say that I'll probably dipping back into it a fair bit in this review as well. But A Crown of Swords is a really cool book. This is where, like I mentioned at a couple of reviews ago, at the end of it, we finally complete Rand's Jesus symbolism by giving him a crown of thorns, of sorts. Of course, we call it Crown of Swords. Robert Jordan's really good about translating some of these things from one place to the next. Is this where Elaine is having trouble with sticking her nose up in the air and so getting the little veils caught in her mouth? So that's hilarious. I didn't catch that at all for multiple read-throughs. It was actually somebody on a forum posting about it that got me there. So I had fun with that. By the way, if anybody's wondering here, my name on here is Darth with an E on the end of it. I've been using Darth with an E at the end of it as a tag since I was 7, but I also happen to be the one that coined the term Darth Rand. So, you never know where that stuff's going to come from. Yeah, I think I said it on a couple of posts, and then somebody posted it up in a blog somewhere, and I love that everybody calls him Darth Rand. That's kind of a fun thing. Okay, so, in any case, we are on A Crown of Swords, and there's so much weirdness going on in this book. I know what happens here, but for the life of me, the instant I said that sentence, I'm blanking on it. I know that it's the things with Colavir and returning from Dumai's Wells and parents panicking about Fail. And I say weirdness in this because I feel like some of the plot lines that happen in Crown of Swords, the little things, like Perrin worrying about Fael and us getting it from his perspective, I don't know why it was done that way. There are more important things that we, the readers, cared more about. Like, I would have loved Rand's perspective. I would have loved to know Min's perspective and figured out what place they were in. But instead, we get like the sort of kitschy drama, of where is my wife? Is my wife okay? It's not my favorite introduction to things. Rand is finally getting into that stage where he's really... people love how tormented Rand is at this point. Lews Therin's picking up more. Rand's getting harder. When I was younger, I was like, yes, he's finally getting it, because I didn't get it. And it's just, this is when you get really juicy stuff from his character. Start getting there. So it's a lot of development to get him to this place. But Moiraine's death and the box are both really big catalysts, right? And up to this point, it's been mostly focused on him learning leadership. But now we know he knows leadership. So the way that he goes in, that scene that gets set, him walking in, meeting with Colavir, and just snapping the crown and then forming it back together, and the whole audience is dead quiet. Everybody saw him coming in and they were... Love that. Robert Jordan writes some comedy, people. He's... oh God, it's good. It is so good. I also believe that Crown of Swords is the book where we get introduced to Cadsuane, and a lot of people dislike her character. I think that she is the strongest representation of old school Aes Sedai in the entire book series, and I really like her, actually. Cadsuane serves a purpose in this story, and her purpose is not plot focused. So people that really dislike Cadsuane really dislike that she is that she's not that useful to the overall plot of the story. They expected that she was going to teach Rand something, and that's what Men's Viewing said, and their interactions feel a little awkward on the page. It's just, when Cadsuane shows up, it feels like you put two alpha dogs in the same room. Which, by the way, dogs don't really have alphas, so that's a shitty analogy, but it's one that you knew what I meant when I said it. So, in any case, Cadsuane shows up. There's the whole confrontational thing. I don't even particularly like it all that much. Oh God, she doesn't show up in the next book, does she? Because I remember that the Aes Sedai seemed pretty comfortable with Rand by that point. She might show up in the next book. I don't know. Fuck it. We're doing a review for both of them. Do I need to stop saying the F word on this? I don't know how YouTube is about that. It doesn't matter. So, her whole place in the story is not for plot development. She is there for Rand's character development. She is basically anti-Moiraine. Moiraine recognized that for all of her strength as a person, she needed for Rand to soften herself and be a voice, a sort of comforting presence. Cadsuane comes in and she has the same self-assurance. She basically starts off in the position where Moraine is at the beginning of book 1 when we first meet her. All we know is the hype about Aes Sedai, and we get it from the townspeople. Here we're getting the hype from Aes Sedai. Here Robert Jordan knew that if you just heard like, oh, there's a dangerous Aes Sedai in the streets, it wouldn't work, because we don't care about them anymore. They've become, a dime a dozen in the story. But instead, we have the other Aes Sedai going, oh shit, it's the Aes Sedai. And it gave her that elevation and status that she needed to get the same kind of feel that we got from Moraine initially. The difference being that instead of her bumping herself down to Rand, she immediately tries to put herself over him, right? Moraine tackled it through being a voice that he could always come to and ask things of and be, to some extent comforted by. And Cadsuane just goes the entire opposite route. I think that their relationship remains begrudging for far too long, and that this is another reason people don't really like her. She doesn't actually help, like Men's prophecy said she would. What she does is she pushes him even harder, and by almost pure luck, she happens to get Tam in the right spot at the right time. Like I said, she's the embodiment of old school Aes Sedai, and old school Aes Sedai are deeply flawed. I don't particularly like that she becomes the Amyrlin at the end of the series. I don't think that was the right move for the White Tower, but maybe it's not supposed to be. Then again, maybe they need a voice with that kind of grit. I think of her like a female Clint Eastwood, by the way. It's just where I'm at with her. Maybe they needed that to deal with the Seanchan threat and the Wise Ones ever encroaching on Aes Sedai authority as channelers in Randland. So, not really sure. But Cadsuane's an interesting character. Crown of Swords has a good bit of politicking going on in it, carrying over from Lord of Chaos. I love what they're doing politically. I'm a big fan of where Egwene is, she's become the Amyrlin, or that was either in Lord of Chaos or it's in this book, but it's right around this time. I think it was in Lord of Chaos. But she has become the Amyrlin, but we recognize that she's a puppet. Rand figures out what's going on and sends Mat over there. He pulls him away from their whole plan with Samael. Yep, that timeline lines up. So that means that is in Crown of Swords then. So, hey, look at that. I know my shit sometimes. So Rand pulls Mat away. By the way, I didn't get to mention this. The scene that makes me want to be Vannon is that bit where the Tinker Caravan was slaughtered, and Vannon looks over at him and he's like, Mat complains that, you could have just told me, and he's like, how does he say it? He was like, could have told you there was no tricks, but I can't tell you this. That's the worst I've ever done that accent. Oh my goodness. G'day mate, my name is Chandler, right? Yeah, it's not bad. So I ain't got it this morning, people. I ain't got it. So Mat gets pulled away from his whole plan. I like that he's peeved about it. I like that he is not just a strategic mind, but that the strategy of how he functions now has changed him, right? That's a stupid way to say that. What am I trying to say here? The memories that Mat has gained have impacted him as a person in that, not his personality being different, but he basically got smarter. He looks at this and he goes, No, that's stupid. That's messing up what we're doing. Why would we... what are you doing? Right? Because he cares, actually, about this now. And that's one of those subtle ways that we can see it, is that he is trying to maintain what he has instead of running away from it so constantly. I also think that somewhere between that last book and this one is where we met Oliver, and I don't know, I didn't like Oliver at first. He grew on me. Holy shit, the payoff with Oliver, with Noel coming back, the payoff with Oliver is fantastic. I love that. So it takes a while, but that character being there for just that one moment is amazing. These people are going slow. Okay, that's fine. That is fine. Work does not care. You drive slow. There's other things going on in this story. This is a weird time for Elaine, Aviendha, and Nynaeve. Or is it... I think Aviendha's with them at this point. I'm pretty sure that she went with them back in, like, book 5. Whenever they split off to, try and figure out what the domination... Nope, not what the domination band was. That was their plot line in Shadow Rising. What did they go for? They're not just chasing the Black Sisters. They're doing something purposeful in that city. That's why... Oh, no, wait. They did go for the domination band, and then they beat Moghedien, and then they ran into Egonin. They had that whole situation with the fork route. Actually, way earlier than that, I think. Tom and Julian are still with them. They got into the menagerie to escape from Moghedien, or as Kate Reading will not like me to say, she calls it Moghedien, like a third of the time. You know, just spice it up a little. It is amazing to me that her and Michael Kramer are married. That's so cool. And okay, so after they've done all that stuff, they're in Saladar at this point, actually. They went through that whole plot line with running into Galad and him being a white cloak. My Lord Galad. The fairest of them all. And meeting Uno again, and learning that Masema is crazy, and that's actually how we get the info about who the Prophet is. And, yeah, so they've been all through that. They're back at Saladar. I'm pretty sure that... Right, I didn't even mention that in Book 5, Moghedien got captured. They used her to help defeat Ravin, and then in Book 6, no Forsaken get killed, I don't believe. No Forsaken get killed in Book 6. Which is good, by the way. It's a breakup from the concept that, hey, are we going to show Ishamael every book? No. Okay. Well, we've got like a 12 to 14 book series going here. So if it's not Ishamael plus another Forsaken, which it's not once you get into book 4, then are we going to have a different Forsaken each book and we line them all up like boss battles? Again, no. No, there's still like 7 of them alive at the last battle. I really thought that Rand would have to kind of clear the chaff before he got to that point, but he doesn't, which is great. Instead, he gets character development. He gets moments where killing Forsaken becomes impactful to him, like we'll talk about much later when we get the Kamehameha moment. But in any case, back to what I was saying here. So Moghedien is captured. The girls are living the accepted life. their story ends up tying together with Egwene's. Egwene becomes the Amerlin. I think that's all book 6 stuff, and I'm pretty sure that book 7 now sets up, Mat pops in. They're like, oh, so Rand does know we're here. And all the Aes Sedai start losing their shit. And Mat's interaction with those girls is hilarious, by the way. I really like Aviendha as a character. She seems so much more grounded. I haven't talked about Nynaeve much at all in this series. I should mention, Zoe Robbins yesterday in that interview with Daniel Green said something to the effect of that she learned that most readers don't relate to Nynaeve on the first read-through, but they do on later read-throughs. And especially as they get older, they recognize that she's a character who is youthful for her role, and her temper and sense of authority kind of comes from that. I guess you could say that's more of an authoritarian than authoritative nature, where Moiraine is more authoritative, but Nynaeve needs whatever she can get, she feels like, because she doesn't feel that her power is secure even within her own village. And then these boys go and run off, and I did not get any of that the first time that I read through the series. I just thought she was a pain in the ass. I am like so many of you out there. It was my second or third read through before I got that Nynaeve had something more going on, and that it was actually a really cool thing. I didn't understand why she was being given so many prestigious moments in the series. But Nynaeve's fantastic through this whole section. Her sort of internal monologue, the dissonance between that and what is actually occurring around her, is fantastic. I think that her and Mat share a lot in that regard. It's just played to different effect, of course. But what I want to mention here is that we get a good number of Elaine chapters by this point. We're starting to get more of those. And as we get more and more Elaine chapters, Robert Jordan does an incredible job of writing in such a way that we get to see Nynaeve's dissonance between what she thinks about herself and or about the things around her and what she's doing, and then the dissonance between that and her actions. And when I don't know, subtler people than I might see that the first round through. It took me a few tries. I finally got it, and she became a comedy goldmine even when you're reading from another perspective. Her dynamic with Birgitte, by the way, is great. Love reading that every time. And I think that it got better once they left Val and Luca's show. There's so much to say there that I haven't focused on, because these are like 20-30 minutes long, and I'm trying to encapsulate 1,000-page books sometimes more, sometimes less, but they're all right there. What is the shortest one? I think the shortest one's Crossroads of Twilight, thank God. But well, it's we'll talk about it at another time. We will talk about that at another time. Or it might actually be Fires of Heaven? I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right at all. So the girls are off doing their Saladar thing. I feel like that plot's the start of our slow burners. And that's where people think that this book belongs in, quote-unquote, the slog. I remember the slog. The slog was a nightmare back when we were in it. And I was only in it for the end, right? I was only in it for one book. Now, mind you, that one book was Knife of Dreams, and that shit was like, no more slog. So I was only waiting on that one to come out. But, oh God, Knife of Dreams is great. Oh. So, in A Crown of Swords, we've got that whole Saladar plot starting off. Mat showing up there. Perrin has his fake fight with Rand and gets sent off to bring Masema back. It just kind of all starts this stuff, right? Wait, is that in the next book? This is the thing. Somewhere in between Winter's Heart and Crossroads of Twilight and Path of Daggers, this shit is all just one book, basically. Or at least it should be. And if it was, I think it would be really good. But it's not. So I might combine all of them into a review and save myself a day here, because I'm going to have to otherwise go back and read for an hour to figure out what is where. Doesn't matter too terribly much, because everybody watching this has seen all of it anyways, and you know what I'm talking about with some of these things that are happening. So I like this book. I think that Robert Jordan, after having the rising action from books 4, 5, and 6, needs to set up his next trilogy. I told you I broke the series into thirds. My thirds being books 1 to 3, books 4 to 10, and then books 11 through 14. And that is because, to me, they all have very different feels if you categorize them that way. I think 1 to 3 are the growing up books. 4 to 10 are the My World is Massive and You Will Love All of It books. And he wasn't always right about that prediction, but we do love it. So can't fault the guy for giving us more of what we love. And then books 11 to 14 are let's wrap this shit up. That's kind of how I view it. So this middle section, you could subdivide it into 2 areas. I definitely think that Lord of Chaos is a peak, and that after that peak, the new elements introduced need to get their own time to breathe and expand, you know? Perrin has come back as basically a new character, because now we've got him leading after taking a book off, and well into his marriage, and Loyal's out there running around trying to avoid his family and shutting waygates with does he go with Gaul? I feel like Gaul's with Perrin. Gaul's definitely with Perrin at some point. I don't remember. It might be with Gaul. Yeah. We've got the girls and starting the tower politics stuff in a lot more earnest, because now our main characters are actually involved in that, instead of it being, 5 minutes of, hey, let's check in on Swan Sanche. Let's check in on Elida. What's all the RN up to? we're away from that stuff. We're getting into the Supergirls are there, right? Rand captured Asmodean died, so of course the girls need to catch up, so the girls capture Moghedien. Moghedien does not get to die, unfortunately. There's just Robert Jordan's trying to keep his parody with all of it and give some explanation for why these characters are getting to where they're getting. And so this feels a lot like a setup book that just happens to have a cool battle scene in it. Yeah, that is when Rand got to see the 2 rivers, because he traveled the elders that showed up to Shadar Logoth. That's when they lost Laia. And then he, of course, pops them over to the 2 rivers, and that's when he saw that it looked different. So yes, that's where that came from. Alright, I know that plot now. By the way, somewhere in all this, Rand has been... they've attempted to assassinate him several times. He's been shot at with bows. He has that crossbow incident in one of these that's in an alley area. a few assassination attempts. I don't necessarily... I like that they happen. I wish that they were more plot-centric. I wish that somewhere in here Robert Jordan had written a plot to the effect of, this big assassination ring and them having to explore that and him having constant attempts on his life. Because I think that this takes away from, in the next book, in the next book, the palace being attacked by the Ashaman. I think it detracts from that a little bit. So, in this one, another thing that I should mention, obviously the Black Tower is growing and we're getting a lot more involved with them. We're getting more involved with Aes Sedai showing up. The Seanchan are also back, and we know that. We know that the Seanchan are back, and Rand has to fight them, right? So there is setup there for what's going to happen in the next book, which is one of the coolest scenes with Callandor. I love it. There's going to be a lot going on there. I'm pretty sure he's already pissed off the maidens at this point, and they whooped his ass. Maybe not yet. I don't know. It's somewhere in this area. This has become a chaotic plot summary instead of a review. Okay, I guess what I'm trying to say here is that I do not think that this book is part of the slog, as it were. And I think that the slog doesn't exist in the eyes of new readers, because yes, the plot does slow down, but not nearly at a level that would detract from the story if you have all of the books of that story sitting in front of you. We kind of made too big of a deal of it at the time because we waited for 2 years and 3 years, etc., and then nothing happened. We backed up a week and told the same story again, and that sucks. Actually, I think that if you took out Crossroads of Twilight, or is it Winter's Heart? Which one has the chapter where Elaine takes a bath? That one. If you took that book out of the series and you instead just spliced in a couple of scenes from it, right? If you did that and you spliced those scenes into like 2 other books, it might make the pacing or the timeline get really weird. So, I don't know, but in the show, they're definitely cutting most of that out. That's how they're going to get this into 8 seasons, is they're going to take the slog and they're going to make it 1 season of pretty compelling television. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. It's pretty cool. By the way, since we're at a point where we can talk about this, I really, and not just because I should go to horny jail, but also because, I should, but not just because of that, but also because it's good for the characters. I really hope that Elaine and Aviendha are in a lesbian relationship. Well, not lesbian, technically a bisexual relationship, because I still want them to have their polygamy with Rand, but, I don't know. Let's bump that up a little bit. Let's give them girls some time together. They could be pillow friends. You know what I'm saying? Robert Jordan knows what we're saying. I didn't get what pillow friends were at first, but there's a lot of that in the Wheel of Time. So, I guess just to break down my overall impression of this book, I think that the fight with Samael ended a little weakly. Robert Jordan says that that's on purpose because he didn't think the character deserved an on-screen death. But in effect, what it did was make people wonder if Samael's going to come back. It is weird to me that he was not reborn, because nothing has ever said that Mashadar does the same thing as Balefire, so the Dark One had the choice, and he was just like, Hey, we got deer in the road. 1, 2. Where are the rest of you? Oh, we got deer running away. Little fluffy whitetails. Okay. This book is another setup book, but it's not as good of a setup book as like, I don't know. I don't have a good example. I've talked about other setup books, but I'm blanking right now. Like, technically, one of my favorite books is a setup book, and that's The Shadow Rising. And it's a setup book interspersed with Perrin living the Seven Samurai story. So that's pretty cool. It's a Kurosawa reference in The Wheel of Time. But it's just such a good story, right? And I think that because of that, it works. And we get introduced to a new culture, and it works. Here, we get introduced to more of the Black Tower, and we retread that Aes Sedai are far less competent than they believe themselves to be, and they made Egwene and Aes Sedai, so we get a double dip of the Aes Sedai thing. And then I think that we finally get to see that Land is with Morel now, and that he is scary. Daniel Henney's going to have a lot of work on his hands on that one. But, you know, things don't progress in a way that's as engaging, because we're not getting a bunch of new elements. And unlike something that I bragged about in Lord of Chaos, where to compensate from that, we got the villains driving the plot, kind of Infinity War-esque. Here we don't have that. Here we're back to our heroes driving the plot. So, unfortunately, they happen to be driving it in a place that we're not all incredibly excited about. We go, oh, the girls are going to another sleazy city, you say. Will they take Tom with them? And Julian? Oh, okay. Oh, they get Matt this time? Well, that could be fun. Yeah. Oh, Rand is taking another city. Yeah, I figured he would do that. It's just, it is a bit more the same. So, I think that Crown of Swords is not the strongest, but I don't think that it's bad. I don't think it's bad by any means. I would give it probably a 7.5. No, I'd give it an 8. I like it a little more than The Dragon Reborn, and I like it a little worse than some of the other books. Like definitely, it's not as good as The Great Hunt. It's not as good as Lord of Chaos or Shadow Rising. Shadow Rising, my review might have been a little too harsh on. I recognize that it has flaws, but it's just so fun as a book, you know? It's a little worse than Fires of Heaven. Yeah, it's right there in that range. All right, folks. I will be back again the next time that I see you. I'm probably just going to combine everything from our next book, which I think is Path of Daggers, all the way up through Winter's Heart into one review. And, yeah, we'll talk about it. Y'all have a great day.